Hi, it's Di from My Enchanted Journals. I turn just about anything into beautiful handmade journals. I live in Western Australia. Welcome to my channel. Here is the new journal. Absolutely loved how it turned out. So I'm just going to open it up and you'll be able to see that this, I hope you can see it all, used to be part of a dress. You can see the arms coming down here and then the folded up part of the pocket, which is here, whereas the bodice kept carrying on down. So I'm just going to show you the whole journal flip through, and I think I'm calling it junk not junk because it was made from all recycled stuff. I have a feeling there might be one, maybe two parts of a digital download that was going to be chucked out because it was what was left over, but that's it. The rest is all just pieces of stuff that I either salvaged off the floor, as in the leaf here, old bits of paper. This was like, you know, bits of fabric that I dried or put on top of other things to dry them. This was an old bracelet that fell apart, so that's a bead. I just did some slow stitching. Literally, it's just all bits. This is the spine. Now, turn it that way so you can see it. What it was four signatures, and then I just did some weaving and I added some beads. Again, this was a necklace that fell apart, so was that. These two beads weren't, they were just what I had left over. And then the back of the journal is there. It's just, you can see it's had all paint on it where the cups were, bits of old fabric. That's part of a flower there. So what I did with the fabric was I sewed it, sewed some fabric to it. I'll show you as I go through, but I then dyed it. So I took this fabric and the others, as we go through, you'll see there's lace and all sorts of things, and I wound it and dyed it with rusty objects and different things, and it came out really, really gorgeous. All the different colors, it's just stunning. A bit of old cardboard box there that I've stuck down. This here is like where I've dried my paintbrush. You can see all the different colors, and I just couldn't decide whether to sew it on or not, so I've left it there. Whoever gets it can decide what they're doing with it. So I just pinned it on, and anyway, you can decide what you want to do. Right, so let's start. Here we go. Turning over the front cover. So this was just an old tag that I had left over. I think it's a chalkboard tag, not sure. You can see where I've done the slow stitching on the front cover, and then this was the top part of the bodice. You can see there is where the neckline was on the old dress that was just getting chucked out. It was linen, so it was really easy to dye. I just added a big button there and just put that tag around it. Slow stitched around here. These are just, you can see this is all sort of busted. It's actually from India, and I believe it's where somebody puts an article in to get dry cleaned, and the guy writes down like what they want done, but it's from 1956. It's an original piece. These I just dyed. They were out of a book, so I thought they looked quite good, and they go with all of that. This piece has just turned out fabulous. Look at that. So this is an edge that I added, and that was from the snippet roll that I made ages ago. I dyed it along with this. It's all different pieces of books, old bits of paper, vintage stuff, the inside of the spine of a book. Yeah, it's just turned out fabulous. This here, this heart, is actually the inside of an old bag. Can you see that? It's Hessian. So I cut the bag up and just had the bits left over, and I thought, what was I going to do with it? But there you go. And then I just slow stitched some just onto some brown paper, and this colour is all through my journal, this journal, so that matches. This here is actually Amazon packaging. I tell you, that stuff is absolutely indestructible, but I just love the patina. It's gorgeous. It's an old doily that got all stained. So this original work was done by somebody way back. That's a couple of flowers that went into the dyeing process, and what I've done is matte medium them so they shouldn't come off. But you can see all the paper is all, that's definitely been through the dye pot a couple of times. And then I added some more stitching, which is quite rough. You can see at the back here. That's just part of the journal. I added an edge to this page here. That was some really, really white lace. It just didn't look right, so I sewed it on. But this paper is watercolour paper, and what I did was I used inks, and I ink dyed some leaves onto that. You can kind of see the outline here. It's an old postcard, just came from my grandparents' estate. Must have been a place that they visited, but it's really old. You can see it there. Morton Hall in Cheshire, must have been a place they visited. This was an old piece of paper that was just getting chucked out. An old, that there is a digital. So I've stuck that on there. So that's one of them. Then this here, I think, was part of a digital as well. I can't really remember, to be honest. And it had glue and stuff stuck all over it. So I just stuck another bit of lace over the top and then stuck some tea-dyed stained papers on the back. So that's a good journaling spot, but it's just turned out really gorgeous. I found a box on the floor that held cotton twine. So I just took the top off the box, slow stitched it, stuck it on there. That was an old bit of paper that I had left over that I was going to chuck out, so that went in there as well. Inside is an old envelope. I'll just take it out and show you. It's really old, an OHMS envelope. I don't even know where it came from. It might have been in the stuff. Remember I showed you a whole load of stuff that I got from this guy off a marketplace, so it might have been that. This is an original receipt from it says druggist, like a drugstore, chemist. I think it's like a chemist order, like somebody's put in a prescription. And yeah, that's what they used to use. And I guess it went through like a folder. I don't know, but it's an original piece anyway. So that's in there. But, you know, some of these pieces you don't know what to do with. And then this journal really lent itself to that, because this is all just pieces that have no business going anywhere else. So, yeah, that just gets folded over there. Obviously, if I've just used paper clips, then you could put them where you like. Now, I did have a whole load of old negatives. My grandma and grandpa, I tell you, I loved them to pieces, but they used to make us... not make us, but they'd go on holiday and take all these millions of photos of random places that nobody was ever going to visit, not in our family anyway. And, you know, we used to sit through these nights and everybody says to me, oh, that must have been wonderful, but it was as boring as anything. But anyway, I pulled all of them apart. I've got loads and loads and loads of these negatives now left. I've kept some of the outsides, but mostly it's just all insides. And then you may recall on one of my other videos that I found a Dymo old one, and it prints out really cool. So I've just printed out Love Not War on there. That's just something different. Plenty of journaling spaces there. This literally was an old envelope with all this horrible tape all over it. This was a part of an old book. That there is a printable, and just a scrap of... fabric that was left over, so I just stuck it all on the one page, and I really like it. It looks grungy and whatever. Now inside here, this here was actually I folded it over, but the whole thing was like that, and there's another one that goes at the back, and it was from Italian vintage wallpaper. So I thought I would use that. I just did a 3-hole pamphlet stitch there and just put in some old papers. I don't even know what this working out is here. I have no idea. Tea-dyed. They come out really fabulous. There's another drawing there. I don't know what that is. But anyway, so that's in there. That's a nice little journaling spot. You can take it out and add it somewhere else. Then here is some proper dried flowers that I had. When I took them out, there was loads of pollen. And yeah, you can kind of see there. So while the matte medium was wet, I just blew the pollen onto here. And that's another bit of flower there. So yeah, I just love it. It just feels awesome. That's a random page from don't even know where. But again, see, they're just bits that are going to get chucked out. Like it's a half of something. It's all screwed up. It looks like it's folded. I don't know what happened to it, to be honest. There you can see the other side of that page that I said that I did with leaves and dyes, inks. So I've just stuck that on there. Just remember the whole book is junk, not junk. So I've turned junk into not junk. This is the back end of that other piece. So with my rough stitching around here, you can see I machine stitched before it was dyed, and that kind of held everything together. But yeah, they're all just random bits of stuff that would have been chucked out. But they look really cool. Okay, and then this here I made. I just love the way this turned out. Look at the colours. They're just fabulous. Bits of old lace, just random bits of stuff have been put on there. And I did machine sew them. And then when they came out, they've been dyed. They went through the pot and got dyed. You can see that's a tea bag there, so it's really dyed. And then I just folded it over and made that into a pocket. So it's really quite sturdy. That's another tea bag there. And then I just put together all just bits of paper that was going to go in the bin that other things had leaned on. That's really cute. It's like a little pixie under there. Can you see him? And that there was where a flower was on the paper when it went through the dyes. But then it just didn't make it, like pulled the flower off and it pulled the paper off. So anyway, the little pixie looks through. I don't know, they're just random bits out of books that I've got a box and they were just going to go in the bin. So anyway, so we've seen that. This is old wrapping paper. So we're on to the second signature now. This is old wrapping paper. It's got gold dots on it, or it had gold dots on it. So I put that through the dye as well, the dye pot. And you can see that we've got like bits of flowers left on it. We've got a remainder of the dyes that come out, the natural dyes from leaves and things. And then it was pretty weak, so I've just reinforced it down there. This is just a parking ticket from the Crown in Perth on a little bit of random leftover paper. It's all just leftover stuff, junk, not junk. This is out of an old library book. You can see where the cover was stuck on with sticky tape. Yeah, and I've just reinforced that again with masking tape just to make sure that the middles, because some of these old pages are really weak, so that's why I've done that. This is out of an old book. It was an old library book. This came from all that stuff that guy gave me on Marketplace. Correspondence course for new Australians. You can see where it was an Italian guy, was learning English, and that's all his old writing, and I just thought I'd stick that in there. It's really interesting. So that's in there. This is from an old book. So it was to teach you how to do cross stitch, but I put them through the dye pot as well. So you can see they've got all like really interesting colours on them. Just used the tiniest little paper holder there. And yeah, you'd be able to put paper on the back there and make that a journaling spot. But this paper here has come out really well. It was just an old shopping bag actually. And it's had that much, you know, you'll see me when I'm doing my crafting, I use like an undersheet for gluing and inking and painting and all sorts of stuff goes on it, but they make really interesting pages for journals. So absolutely love this. You'll see when I fold it over, so you can see here the sign, I think that's the Woolworths sign. You can see there's some, yeah, just bits and pieces on there, and that, I hope you can see that, that there is an actual old pay packet from this guy from January 1961. So that's really cool, and I've left that just with a paper clip so that you can take it on and off as you wish. So I'm just going to stick that back on there. So I kind of like how it's set out. So we'll just leave that on there like that. So that's really cool. This is just an old piece of paper. I was just mucking around with, you know, water-soluble pencils, and that was going to get chucked out. I'd ripped it out of a book. It's all sort of rough down here. But junk, not junk. There we go. And this is my original art. I did post this on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I'd just add it because the colours are all perfect to go into this journal. So I added that. I guess you could add beads on here if you wanted to, or, you know, some other amulet or trinket that you've got that's special to you. So that was the back end. Now, when I do that art, it's just in this old monthly planner. Remember, I've showed you before, I just do, that was my other art that I just put up last week. So this is that's just where it's from. So these illustrations are actually in that book. So rather than cover it up, I just used a bit of old doily. Like when I'm using my doilies, I take them apart. I guess we all do. But that's a bit of old doily on there and a bit of scribble. Yeah, that's the back end of the shopping bag again. And a piece of that thing with a Dymo, piece of tape. I guess you could fold that over if you really wanted to. That's the other side of the book page. And these are just random cigarette cards. Literally, I was going to throw them out, didn't know what to do with them. So I've stuck them in there because it's junk, not junk. This is another page from a book. I liked it because I liked what the contents said. It said what to look for, what to record, an assortment of leaves, flowers and fruits, woodland fruits, conifers. So it kind of, that's what I do when I go out foraging. That's kind of what I do. So I really like this side of the page. Didn't like this side of the page. I had some dodgy picture on here. So I added an old bookmark, an old tag, which is from part of this cover. And I've just matte mediumed it to make it a little bit more sturdy. And a part of an old book, you can see the pages all ripped. And then here, I think this might be a digital. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I did do the stenciling there. And then this is a really old picture. I don't know where it's from. It would be a very early picture from just an old magazine. And then I just slow stitched around, added a bead. That's the other part of that there. You can see, you know, when I do art, that's what happens. That's the other part of the wrapping paper. Just love that. And I've actually matte mediumed those flowers there, so they will stay on there. There's just stains from other things. This is the natural staining from the leaves. Really love how that came out. It's just gorgeous. And each piece of paper is so tactile, you guys. Like, I just want to keep holding it. It's gorgeous. All right, we're on to the third signature. This random number here, I don't know, 3 A's and 66 and an AC, that was already in the Dymo printer, so I just left it there and put it on because I would have thrown it out. So there you go. I've stapled down the side here, stapled this on. Now this is from the inside of an old library book. Again, that's another part of the Woolworths shopping bag that I've used, you know, as backgrounds. And this is the inside of the library book. You can see somebody's left their mark there. It's all kind of stained and foxed and whatever, but all the dates are really cool. It starts in 1962 and ends in 1968. So, and that's from the Library Service of Western Australia. So that's an original piece. This was a little piece that kind of fell off of the original bit when it went through the dyeing pot, but I love it. It's got like a pin added and just bits. It's just bits. And inside was 2 just random bits of stuff that I was going to chuck out. So I just cut them to fit into those. They're not supposed to be pockets, but it is kind of like a pocket. There's another little bit of wrapping here. So this here was from a bag. My son got some food delivered because he was too lazy to cook his dinner. And when I went to his house to take the dog for a walk, this bag was sitting on the bench and I thought, I'll have that, thank you very much. And then this is an old card I found in some stuff of my grandma's, so really, really old. You can see here the imprints. I think I showed you these beautiful eco-dyed papers before, but that's the prints from, think of dandelions. Just beautiful. It just turned out so gorgeous, but the colours are just stunning. All right, so here we've got an old doily, some old lace, book pages, and then this here is actually the stub of a ticket. I think it says something performance or something, and I really don't know what it's about. But anyway, I found it in the park, picked it up, and the grandkids were like, "What are you doing picking that up, Nan?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I just want it for my journals." So it went through the dyeing process, didn't come out too good. It was a bit weak when it came out. So I just slow stitched it here, then matte mediumed it again, and did some more stitching, slow stitching here. So that's like the middle there. I really love it because like you can pin stuff on. You'll know if you've watched me for a while that I did the 100-day project and I have loads and loads of pins. You could, I don't know, attach whatever you like in there. So yeah, I just left it plain for whoever gets this journal. I'm a bit reluctant to part with it, but you can't keep everything, that's the thing. And I really love making this, it's gorgeous. And that's the back of the old doily, which you can see here. All right, so a lot of the doilies that I pick up, I've showed you those before as well. I pick them up for next to nothing. And a lot of them are stained, so they're perfect for junk journaling. There's a couple of pins there, they've started to rust, so you can attach and add things to those. That's the other side of the paper there. Flowers still attached, so I've matte mediumed those. Oh, I just love the staining, it's just perfect. You couldn't make that unless it goes through a dye pot. It just is impossible. And you can even see little tiny circles here where it's leaned against that other paper here and the dyes come out. It's just beautiful. It's the other side of the card, the other side of the paper bag, little bits, and the other little bit there. So some of that paper is a little bit fragile. It's the other part of the shopping bag. And now we're on to the last signature. But you can see from this shopping bag, I've tested out like postage stamps. I don't know, I think that was where I sprayed ink over a doily. Yeah, but I just love it. Like the patina is just fabulous. All right, fourth signature. So you can see this started out as white lace. Still a tiny little bit of it left there. Very, very small. But yeah, really, it was really like... wow, way too white, you know, for a junk journal. It just looked really out of place. So I, yeah, put it through the dye pot, and then I've added another bit there with a pin. I've sort of hand sewn here, sort of a rough blanket stitch along the edge. You can see here. And that was done by the machine, obviously. There is a little bit of puckering here, I think where the lace lifted when it was being dyed, but I don't mind that. That's cool. All right, this here was from that load of stuff with that old guy that was the Italian immigrant, and it's like a notebook that he had. So that's part of that old picture. Remember back here? Where is it now? Here, yep. So that old picture there, I'd ripped some off here because it was just slightly too long. So rather than throw it out, I added it to here. And then you open that up and it just says time goes by. But they're all his writing. That was just an old picture. That's more of the leaf with the ink. But yeah, cool little page. Again, more of the leaves, imprints of the leaves, part of a flower there. This is more of that wrapping paper. I just love this. It's like brown paper but thicker, and then it's got like gold dots on it. Somebody gave it to me, and I think it was recycled when I get it, because I always tell my family, don't go buying new wrapping. Recycle what you've got and give it to me, because everybody just unwraps it and chucks it out. Well, I don't anymore, but yeah, I just really love the paper. It's really tactile. It's gorgeous, and it took the dye really well. I love it. That was another part of that other paper. Remember back there was a tiny little bit. So yeah, I just went down the middle just to reinforce it a little bit. But that was going to be chucked out. It's just got gessoed, and I don't know what I was doing. That's the eco dyeing that I did quite a while back. I'd ripped some off to use for something else, and this piece was just floating about. So that actually looks like my hand there, but I don't actually think it is, but it certainly looks like it. Right, this is, yeah, another part with this Amazon paper. You know, the bags that you get when you get an Amazon parcel turn up. So... more just random parts of pages. Yeah, a bit of cardboard there, a bit of flour or weed, whatever it was. This is the middle page again. These are stuck, so you can't actually use that as a pocket, but you could stick stuff onto it, you know, easy with matte medium, make it your own. I didn't want to overdo this book. I've done some things, obviously, and I've got the basics in place, but, you know, if you get a journal that's completely finished, it's not yours. It's like somebody else's ideas, in my opinion. So I've left a lot of it so that you can add your own things to it. It's the back end of it. It's an old advertising piece there. Bit of old lace again. And the back end of that other bit, so you can see it was sort of odd. A bit had been ripped off there, but the other side was still complete. Look at the colours though. The purples, and just beautiful. And all the different colours there, and they're all natural. It's just gorgeous. Right, back end of that. Look at that. That's where a rusty, it's like a drill bit, I think. It's got like bit that comes down here, and I think it goes into wood, but yeah, it's just beautiful how that's turned out. Okay, what have we got here? Right, this is just an old piece of fabric on a pin paper clip. Get right. Now, this was just 2 envelopes. Somebody had sent me something, and what I did was I just pulled the envelopes apart. They were going to be chucked out. You can see. So what I did was stuck them all together. Stuck, as you can see, there's, yeah, bits of recipes, old stamps, everything going on there. And I thought, well, this is not junk anymore, so I'll stick that over there. But that, again, is where the leaves were done with the ink. Some pages are just awesome. Look at that. Love it. All right, let's stick that back over there so I know where it is and where it goes. And, yeah. So yeah, that's a great little journaling spot. Awesome. And come to the back page. Right, so this back page, I just folded it over again. I did a really rough blanket stitch with the same embroidery floss. Put it around that pin went through all the dye as well, so it'll probably start to rust. There's 2 different colours of embroidery floss on here. It's made into quite a deep pocket here. And then I had a really old Coca-Cola poster, but on the outside this was wrapped around the tube like that, and so I was chucking the tube out and I rescued that. So that's really old, and I'll stick that in there for you. And then this is part of what came out of the book as well, that went through the dye process. It was really interesting how they came out actually, but they look really effective. Now on the back, still an old magazine picture obviously, and it's a bit bright for this journal, so I would suggest sticking, you know, a piece of journaling paper on the back there. But these are all things that you can do yourself to make it your own. All right, and then flip it over, and that's the back of that. Really, you can see it was really white lace here, but that's the dye process and the slow stitching. Yeah, I just love how it's turned out. Really, really brilliant. This is the back pocket. Now this has got loads and loads of bits. I've slow stitched. It's just an old tag that I've had in there. All the paper just, you know, just about made it through the dye process, but then I've matte mediumed over the top again. Matte medium the whole thing, so it's quite firm, but still tactile. So, and it is linen, so that's cool. This came out of a book and an old feather. So I stuck that in. Yeah, I don't know, this book was wild. I used the covers, but some of this, pain, death, and the goodness of God, it's a bit intense, but there you go. These are quite nice. They've got, I think, a little bit of gold on them. Don't know, and I don't know when. I think I might have bought them from one of the challenges, you know, like the Junk Journal, January or July or something, and never used them, and they're just sitting, and I was like, having a clean out, I'm like, I'm going to chuck these out, and I'm like, no, that can go in that journal. So junk, not junk, but I love, like, that's a leaf. Love the patina on this. It's absolutely beautiful. And then we turn over to the back. Yeah, you'll see all my slow stitching. I did wonder whether to put a button on here and have this fold over, but then there's no room for growth, and I really think that whoever gets this journal is going to want to pack it full of bits and pieces, make it their own. I tell you, I just love it. I absolutely love it, and I will be sorry to see it go, but I'm sure it'll go to a good home. So I'm just going to grab my tape measure and I'll tell you how big it is. All right, I'm back. Here's my tape measure. So at the widest point, it is 9 inches, but probably generally it is 8 inches wide, which is, if you want it in centimeters, about 20 centimeters wide. And then length is 10 or just about 25.5 centimeters long. So it's a big journal, but you know what? It's not hard. It's kind of really, it's just so tactile, you guys. I love it so much. Really, really love it. So I hope you do too. Please let me know what you think in the comments, because this has taken me ages and I just kept going back to it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I'll get it listed on Etsy, and yeah, please leave me a comment, let me know what you think. If you like the channel, can you please subscribe? It'll really help me get to that first 1,000. And then I'm going to do a giveaway, so that's going to be exciting. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.